Howdy, guys, gals, and non binary pals. My name is Stoic, and I'm Stoic, and this is the Community Chat Show, your one stop shop for all the latest in the CCS community. With us today is Arcane, Captain and Flex for Can't Create Acronyms, or CCS4. Welcome to the show, Arcane. We're glad you're here. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, Stoic. Thanks for having me. I'm the captain of CCS4, now dormant. Was playing in C West last season. So far, this season just didn't have the time. I was moving in March, and that took up a lot of my time, actually. Still kind of unpacking boxes as it is. But happy to be here on the show. I don't know what do you want me to say? I can talk about HOTS. I still play HOTS all the time. I just don't have time to dedicate to the competitive scene. So I'm looking forward to coming back at some point. Been trying to keep myself from getting too rusty. I did play Flex with CCS4. I played, tanks when needed, or damage ended up being a lot of what we were missing, actually, strangely enough. We had, multiple people that played tanks, multiple people that played healers, not too many people who played auto attackers or mages, and that ended up being an interesting situation for us last season. I feel like most of the time the damage people are the easiest ones to get, and then it's hard to find a tank player, hard to find a healer. But I had Kryn. I mean, I don't have him anymore, and apparently we don't have him tonight. But
shots fired.
So it'll be painful looking for a new tank player. But other than that, looking forward to coming back. Maybe next season, maybe season after that. As far as the HOTS life goes.
Interesting. So, without jumping into too many of your details, I'm curious here. You've already kind of opened up this can of worms here. You said that you're still playing HOTS a lot, but you haven't had the time to devote to the competitive scene. For you, really, what's the difference look like between just playing HOTS and then being competitive?
I think the biggest difference for me is when I was playing competitively, I was probably practicing around 20 hours a week, which is a lot. It's like a part-time job, basically. That practice, also then being a captain, I'm probably spending 6 to 10 hours a week trying to contact people, set up scouting, set up team, matches, trying to schedule practices with the whole team and everything. So there was a lot of work on top of that as well. Whereas now I'm probably playing closer to like an hour a day, maybe, just to kind of get a couple games in, maybe a little bit more on the weekends, but also playing a lot of other games and just doing a lot of other hobby stuff in general, trying to diversify things a little bit.
Gotcha. I mean, it's always good to get that diversity back into the hobby situation. Thanks for, I mean, that's 25 hours. That's a huge commitment. That's amazing. If we rewind this, I'd love to hear, I want to kind of build the story for myself and for our viewers. How did Arcane get from, hearing about Heroes of the Storm to this moment of I'm the captain of the team. I'm going to be, all in 25 hours a week to make sure we're getting these dubs. How'd you, what's your story with starting with Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah, I played HOTS since the beta. So I was in there back when we had, I don't even remember what they call the amulets and the relics and stuff. That was an interesting time, but I never actually played any other MOBAs. Dota, League never really interested me all that much. I came from StarCraft, Brood War when I first started, and then StarCraft 2 when that came out, back when I was 13. And then, I saw HOTS and I was like, wait a second, my Warcraft 3 heroes and my StarCraft 2 heroes can be in the same game? And just started playing in the beta. And then, I mean, when I started playing, I didn't really like playing team games online. I was probably 16 or 17. So I tried to stay away from anything that required me to have to talk with people online. I grew up in a very conservative household that was very against you shouldn't be, talking to strangers on the internet. So I mostly played versus AI, just with AI versus AI for probably a year of HOTS. And then I stopped playing for probably a good another year and a half, 2 years. Just played other games, mostly StarCraft 2. And then one of my friends brought me in and talked to me about that they had a Heroes of the Dorm team that was switching over because they all graduated and they wanted to start trying out NGS, and they'd heard of this amateur league, and they'd done one season, but then one of their team members had to leave and like moved back to Brazil or something. And so they were like, hey, can we bring you on? What heroes do you play? And I was like, I play Artanis and Karazim. That was the last heroes I played 2 years ago when I used to play the game. And they were like, all right, I guess we can work with that. And finally, I picked up like Deckard, and I picked up a couple other healers and played healer for them for one season. That was in Div B. Little known team is Rush B. Lasted for like 3 seasons, and then everybody decided to move on to other games and other stuff, except for me and one other who came back with me last season. But so that Rush B team, Div B West or B East in season 5, we got demolished. I think we lost every single one of our games. Moved down to C West the next season and never lost a match. So worked out pretty well. But that was the season where I really decided I was going to start dedicating a bunch of time. That was season 6, where I started practicing a whole lot. I picked up offlane as my primary role that season. So I'd kind of started as healer and was like, I'm not good at this healing thing. Let me try out some other roles. And I really picked it into the offlane. And I picked up like Sonya and I jumped back on Artanis and picked up a couple others. Ended up picking like Blaze and Imperius by the end of the season that year. And then the team kind of stopped, and I fell out for a couple of seasons, like a year or so. Still just kind of playing the game casually, playing a lot of brawls and ARAMs. And then finally I was like, you know what? I keep watching all these matches. I keep watching, NGS teams go around. I'm going to put my hat in for the free agents. And I did, and I had a couple of tryouts with some teams, and then Valve contacted me and was like, hey, do you want to be a captain for CCS? We're trying to get some new teams going. I was like, sure, I'll be a captain. Why not? Shouldn't have agreed to that, but
Val gets you every time.
Yeah. It's hard to deny the man. But yeah, I have enjoyed it ever since. I started last season captaining, put together a team of 6, which worked out really well. We had a lot of flexibility there, and then it was the first time actually that I had flexed onto the damage role because I'd been playing offlaners and healers before that. So it was a whole new experience for me, and a lot of practice went into that. And I am not very good at damage dealers. So we had a very fun season last season. We went from losing every map on every match for the first half of the season to turning it around and dominating almost every single game we played. And then making it to the semifinals of the bracket, which was amazing. We bopped the number 2 team out of the top in the quarterfinals, which nobody expected, and then just kind of fell over in the semifinals because it was being a bad week for people and hard to schedule things and hard to get that time into practice that week. But overall, super happy with everybody's performance last season, and just happy with the game in general. Now I'm back to ARAMs and quick match, and just trying to keep my heroes from getting too rusty for when I come back.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that it's a when you come back, not like a if you're coming back.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by a couple of things. I mean, there's so many questions that I have from like what you described that I'll just kind of like ask, and we'll see where we go. You mentioned that you were watching so much, and my instinct is like, oh, are you watching professional? But you said even when you weren't playing, you were watching NGS. Did you watch the pro scene, or was it just the amateur that kept you?
Oh, no, I watched the pro scene too. I mean, ever since I started playing in the beta, I watched a lot of pro StarCraft 2. And so a lot of it was like, well, there's no StarCraft 2 tournaments going on right now. Maybe there's a HOTS tournament. Oh, there is. Let me watch Heroes of the Dorm, or let me watch the pro scene for Heroes, and then, the whole collapse of the pro scene. But there were times where I'm like, oh, there's no pro games going on. Are there anything else going on? I would just browse through Twitch on HOTS, and I found NGS that way, actually, for the first time. And then was just browsing through and saw a game, and I was like, oh, what's this? And then like 2 weeks later, my friend was like, hey, do you want to join our NGS team? I was like, wait, what? I was like, I was just watching that on Twitch the other day. You're part of that? He's like, yeah, we're trying to. I was like, I had no idea.
Is this a friend that you knew in real life, or is this a friend from the game?
This is a friend that I have met once or twice in real life, but I didn't actually meet them from the game. I had a group of friends in high school. We played a lot of games together, and they moved out to different colleges all across the state. And they met friends in college, and they joined a Heroes of the Dorm team together.
Oh, okay.
And then I was introduced to those friends through the mutual high school friend. And then, that friend group expanded. We played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. That's kind of how it got all put together. But I think I met most of them for the first time when they pulled me in for one day of NGS practice, and they were like, "What heroes do you play?" So I can play Karazim. And I'm like, "Oh, that's not meta."
Yeah, for real. Oh man. And I guess like what I'm fascinated in, like what was in for everybody. Like what is it that's sorry that you can see the dog.
Oh, no worries.
What is it that like sparks it in you? Like, oh yes, I want to play the video game competitively. Had you done like StarCraft 2 in like an amateur tournament or any of the other tournaments and stuff? Was that something that you would already like playing StarCraft is competitive, right? It's like it's how
Yeah.
you roll. You're 1v1ing on the ladder every day, baby. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But joining a team's a little bit different. So talk to me about like that decision making there to say yes.
Yeah. I had done tournaments, like amateur tournaments in StarCraft 2. I did a couple of like they had these little weekly small online tournaments where you just kind of messaged somebody and was like, "Hey, do me in a custom game," and they'd put together like round robin ladders that would last a day. And the winner got like $50 or something. I won one of those once, so that was nice. And that's kind of what got the competitive, kick going. But no, I've always been a competitive person. I always like if I'm playing a game, I want to be the best. I'm not. I'm in C West, but I can try to get there.
See West, see best, baby.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. And I guess that kind of connects to another question I had when you were telling your story here that you said you played your first season doing healers and you felt like, oh, like I'm not good at healing. I should switch to offlane. Like, what did you mean by like I'm not good at healing? Or wasn't good at it?
A lot of the skills in HOTS, I feel like, that are necessary for healing, like a lot of the positioning that you need to have, a lot of the like quick response time, and I didn't remember the game. Like I hadn't played in like 2 years, so there was a lot of things about the game, a lot of new heroes that I didn't have any idea what they did, so I didn't know how to respond to a lot of things. And I think it was just kind of I was getting bored of the role a little bit. I mean, I typically play healers actually in games. Like when I played Overwatch, I was always healer. I don't like FPSs too much though, so that didn't last long. But yeah, it was just a different set of skills that I couldn't quite pick up on right away. I've gone back and I've kind of de-rusted my healers since then, and I think I play a pretty mean Deckard. But I think it was just a different mindset that I had to be in the HOTS to do the healing thing. And when I picked up solo lane, it was purely because no one else on the team knew how to play bruisers very well. And nobody else on the team really understood like double soaking and how to get all that effective. And a lot of them were very, I want to attack the enemy team minded. And I was very like, yeah, that's fine. I'll go soak. You guys have fun with I mean, coming from B West after not playing the game for 2 years, I was so out of my depth trying to play against those heroes. So it only felt natural that it was like, well, maybe I don't fight the heroes exactly, and I do all the other stuff that we need to get done. So that's kind of where that transition felt a little bit more natural. And then as I played more and got more comfortable, I kind of started flexing into all the other roles and playing tank and playing healer again and playing damage. Damage is, I don't understand how people live. Anytime I play a ranged assassin, it's like I die in 2 hits from some tank, and I'm just like, they're like, well, you're standing too far forward, and I'm like, well, I'd be fine if I was Sonya.
Yeah, main tank Jaina.
Yeah.
So
you mean Jayana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested in as well. Like you said, like you were, your team wants to go, they want to go fight, but you're like, oh, I'll go double soak. Like, where'd you learn these principles of double soaking? Was this stuff you picked up watching NGS casts, or were you consuming a lot of HOTS content on outside of your playing time?
I was doing a lot of viewing of the pro scene at that time. And it was something that the casters would talk about a lot. Like you'd see the Malfield jumping back and forth between 2 lanes. And like coming to fights every so often, And when they did, it was always like, oh, the fight's turned in their favor now because it's 5v4 or whatever. But it was always that sort of thing where I was like trying to get better at the game, so constantly like looking up articles. I think a lot of like Heroes Hearth stuff was what I ended up watching and reading mostly, as well as just like talking with my friends about the game. Uh, Two of the team members that I had joined with were like masters players at the time, so one of them ended up being like Grandmaster 70 or something like that at some point. They don't play anymore, but so getting a lot of like advice from them, I think, was a lot of where my knowledge about the game started to develop. And then once I learned something, I was like, all right, I want to go learn more. And that's kind of how I tackle a lot of things in life. Where if something kind of piques my interest or I get really involved in like interested in something, I'll start to get really involved in it.
Interesting. I mean, that's awesome. I think like I love hearing these stories because everyone has these different like inception points where they begin and like they get a little taste and then they just want more. And HOTS is so good about delivering that because like you get that QM and then you say, oh wow, I could do better. Like let me go figure out how to actually do this right way. And then you're like, there's a whole world out there I didn't even know about.
Oh, it's so frustrating playing QMs nowadays. There was a point where it was like just a recent game or something where they were flaming me for not fighting with them at like level 2. They're like, why are you in the lane? Come fight mid. I'm like, no, I'm getting soaked. Leave me alone.
Why aren't you A-ramming with us?
Yeah, I was like, no. And then like 3 minutes later, we were like level 7 and they were level 5. And they're like, oh, how'd that happen? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe somebody was soaking a lane somewhere.
How are these like how do QM is just such a fiesta, but how do people like not understand these basic HOTS principles? What do you think it is?
I think a lot of people come to HOTS and look at it as like, oh, it's a simplistic MOBA. You don't really have to think too much about it. Because compared to like the item systems in League and Dota and that sort of stuff, it feels simple on the surface. It's definitely got a lot of complexity once you start to dive into it. But I think a lot of it is just, it feels good to team fight. And so people like team fighting. And a lot of the actual mechanics of the game, I think, are a little hidden behind playing the game a bunch or reading about it. Some of the, I would say like some of the goals of the game are a little bit counterintuitive sometimes. Like sometimes you don't want to go for the early objective, but it pops up on the map. Everybody thinks, oh, you have to go. And oh, this game's based around objectives. Let's go fight. But sometimes it's like, well, no, it's better to push in the lane opposite because we don't have that great of a team early on. We're going to lose it anyway. Let's do something elsewhere. Or let's go grab some camps instead. Like we lost somebody. We don't have a chance at challenging it anymore. So rather than just waste our time in poke and not get anything done, let's go do something elsewhere. And I think that concept is hard to grasp as a beginner. I think for a lot of people, it's like, oh, the enemy team's over there. Let me go over there. I got to do something about the enemy, as opposed to trying to play the map, I suppose. HOTS is very unique in that case, actually, where it's like, I think it's the only MOBA that actually features different maps. At least the only MOBA I know about that features, we've got 15 maps in the map pool. League has 1. Dota has 1. So people learn a lot about, well, this is how you play the one map in League, but I don't think a lot of people go into how do I play each of the 15 maps that's available in HOTS.
Do you have a favorite of the 15?
I do. It's Haunted Mines.
Really?
I love Haunted Mines. I unironically wish they would bring it back.
I'm interested in why. Like beyond, like, because people like it because it's a joke, and people like it. But why, what do you love it?
I don't even think it's a joke. Like I actually like the decision making behind, do I go down into the sub area and fight for the skeletons? Will I get enough push out of that? I mean, I think it does need rebalancing. But like I like that trade-off that you have to make. But am I present on the main map doing things on the map, or am I trying to capture things for the objective? I think they can make it work. I just think it needs some tweaking is all.
Interesting. Which camp are you? Are you the go to the mines and get the skulls? Or are you the Just run it down with Sylvanas.
I mean, the way it's written, I'm run it down all day, baby. But I think if they can incentivize the objective more, the problem is if you incentivize it too much, then it kind of becomes really snowbally. Whichever team starts to get a few of them will end up getting most of them, and then it starts to become hard to push back against them on future objectives. I think I actually honestly think if you add an entrance to the mines near everybody's keeps as opposed to out in the lanes, like move those entrances in the middle of the map closer to your safe zone, and I think the mines becomes a lot easier to access when you're behind. And it helps fighting for the objective when you've lost structures and lost map presence a little bit easier, which helps you come back. So it helps prevent that little snowball.
Interesting.
That's my own 2 cents. I'm not a game designer, so
yeah, no, I mean it makes sense because I mean so much of HOTS is about controlling, vision, controlling rotations, and I've never even considered on Haunted Mines. If you lose both those first two forts, and the other team is doing a good job, holding those lanes, you don't even have access to the entrance. That's fascinating. I haven't been playing Haunted Mines very much, so the map is still a little fuzzy for me sometimes. What's your least favorite of the 15?
I think my least favorite is Blackheart's Bay. That one just crushes my soul every time I end up on it.
Okay, so at its core, Blackheart's Bay is kind of similar, right? You have two things that are super spread apart, the top two lanes, and then Egypt at the bottom. And then you also have this third thing that's all the way out in no man's land of like the objective of getting coins where you could have an Illidan be on the coin rotation for the entire game and never show up. What separates BHB and
kind of what that's what frustrates me a bit. I guess in Haunted Mines you actually have to kind of fight the team at some point. Whether it's down over the skulls or it's up on the map. I mean, I guess you can kind of try to dance around them and just be where they aren't, but I feel like Blackheart's Bay, if you're ahead, you never fight, and that feels wrong to me. Like, if you're ahead, you just do the camp rotations and just never let your opponent get coins and just don't fight them. Just go push where they aren't. Just, there's never an engagement, which as much as I want to be like, hey, it's a different way to play, it just doesn't. When you're playing from behind on Blackhearts, it feels awful. When you're playing from ahead on Blackhearts, you feel unstoppable. I honestly think it's more snowbally than Mines is, but that's just my opinion.
So you're viewing it like similar to like Sky Temple in the sense that once you get a little bit of a structure advantage, you just trade temples till the core dies.
Yeah, but I feel like Sky Temple has options. Because of the way the temples spawn, there's a guaranteed pattern on the temple spawn. So if you're behind on temple damage and you're not going to be able to capture temple, second temple phase is always on the bottom. You can just go top. That forces the other team to have to either fight you 5v4 top and leave one person bottom, or give up bottom to come fight you 5v5 top. Otherwise, you're going to get a structure. So I kind of like that there's at least a dynamic to the objective that forces you to actually fight over it. With Blackheart's Bay, like, you can gather the objective completely passively. You never have to engage with the opponent. I mean, you at the point you have to engage to turn in, right? As long as they're doing their job to defend it. But with Sky Temple, it just feels like there's more macro options to play the map, as opposed to Blackhearts, which feels like there's one way to play it, and if you don't play it that way, you just lose.
Yeah, it's fair. Interesting. When as a captain, you're speaking like a true, like competitive HOTS person. Like, it's about taking structure. Like, you've said that twice as we've talked about maps here. As you brought on your new team, how did you make sure that your team is always on board of like taking structures or like getting the true objective of the video game?
Yeah.
Or was your team a bunch of experts?
When we started CCS4, we didn't have that concept. And a lot of the reason why we lost all of our early games last season was we would get team wipes and then do nothing with them. Like, we would wipe their team and be like, all right, now's a good time to grab our camps. Not their camps, our camps.
Classic Div C.
It was a lot of like, what are we doing? And it took a lot of losing and realizing like, oh, that's what we're doing wrong, to kind of change that mindset. We actually ended up getting coaching by, not Paradox, was it? one of our players, for his birthday, his wife got him coaching videos from Not Paradox, and we sent in one of our matches that we had lost on Volskaya Foundry from the NGS season, and he went through each individual person and said, like, this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong. And he went through as a team, like, this is what you should be doing as a team here. You guys made the wrong, like, you backed off here, you should have kept pressing. You tried to fight this 5v4, or you came in from the wrong direction on this point. And I actually drafted up a whole document based off all his responses, that was like how we play Volskaya, and it's got diagrams of like, this is where you should be standing on the point. If you have the point, this is where you should be standing on the point. If you don't have the point, this is where the ranged assassin should be. This is where the bruiser should be. This is what this is what offlane should be doing when we're trying to capture objective. All this stuff, super detailed. And then we played the map again after that, and we ran it a bunch of times just in like custom games and scrims, and we got a really good feel for that map. We never lost that map again.
5-man snowball into Blizzard, baby.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was. We had a great. I still think that like the best highlight I've seen of last season was Kryn dropping the May snowball straight down into the Junkrat Riptire, into the Tassadar Black Hole, into like just blowing up the entire other team. It was great. Yeah, I can link the doc. It's a Word file, but I'll try to convert it over to a PDF and link it before the end of the stream.
Secret document.
But yeah, it's I started doing that for other maps. I didn't make nearly as detailed docs for those ones, but we started instead of just playing, Storm League and trying to practice comps or something. I said, how we win this game is by knowing the map. If we know how to play each map and we play the macro better than our opponents, that's how you win. Because you can't win if you don't kill the core, right? You have to kill the structures to win the game. Killing the enemy team means nothing if you're not getting structures. You can kill them as many times as you want. If you're losing all your structures, you're not getting any closer to winning the game. So instead of playing Storm League every practice and just kind of trying to get, better at calling and team fighting, I had to start every practice with like 45 minutes in a custom game on one map, and we would walk around to every objective point on the map, and we would be like, all right, I'm ranged assassin. I'm standing here. I'm tank. I get to stand past this line. And we would look at things like, oh, this is Cursed Hollow. There's a little like line in the grass there near that objective. Only the tank gets to go past that line. Everybody else stays on the other side of it. There's always exceptions to that sort of thing. Like everybody on the other team is dead. Okay, now you can move wherever you want. But for a lot of it, like Alterac Pass, it was like, okay, this line cuts the objective in half. Only the tank is allowed on the dangerous side of that half. Everybody else needs to be standing on the other side. Maybe the bruiser can come in on that other side once we've, started the lockdown chain, or we're starting a combo or something. But there was a very procedural set of events that would have to happen for us to start engaging different ways on each map. And we kind of worked it down to a science of like, this map we do this map we do this. Volskaya, we grab the turret at 1 minute every single time somebody is there, right when it spawns, so that we can grab it again at the first objective. And then we have 2 turrets on objective 1 instead of 1. Just trying to always make sure that we knew the macro of every map that we were playing on. And the maps that we didn't want to learn the macro, we just banned. I'll be honest. There was a couple of them that were like, we just can't play the macro. Like the heroes in our hero pool don't play the macro on this very well. So we're just going to step back and not worry about that map. We're just going to ban it every time. I think that happened for Hanamura every match that we had on the later. I was like, we don't have heroes that can play this map well. I don't know what to do with the macro on this map. It still doesn't make any sense. So we just would ban it out. And I think it really comes down to like, make sure that you have a good idea of what to do, especially if you have map pick. You should be picking a map that you can win on. Like, you should never be picking a map that you're like, yeah, we're comfortable here. You should be like, we're going to win this map if we pick this map. In the later parts of the season, we would almost always prefer map pick because we knew which maps we were really, really good at. And the hero picks didn't matter as much as making sure we had general comps that could fit our strategy for the map.
Wow. So and I'm assuming here that Paradox, gave you all this feedback on Volskaya. Did he tell you to go say, now go do this for all the maps? Or was that an initiative that came from you or somebody else on the squad?
That was something that I kind of was like, I think this is really good advice. This is a really good way of looking at Volskaya. Let's start to look at the other maps like that. And then I would ask like my teammates, hey, I want you to go look at Alterac Pass and talk to me about what you think. And I think that was really important, because if I had been the only one doing all the work, I don't think it would have stuck as well for everybody. But the fact that like one person was like, yeah, I know Alterac Pass really well, and I taught it to everybody else on the team. When we go to Alterac Pass, it helps them feel a lot more comfortable doing the shot calling if necessary. It helps everybody have a little bit more macro awareness during the game. If, oh, well, when I'm on this map, I really know it because I was the one that looked into it. I did a bunch of research on it, and we've got, I only really have the Volskaya game plan, which I'll try to link in chat. I might have it. I need to like upload it somewhere or something. Sorry about that.
No worries. I mean, you're dropping knowledge, baby. That's what this is all about. I mean, that's amazing. And was the whole team like? This is something I've been fascinated in. I've been coaching. I coach 3 different teams, and all of them fascinate me by their levels of, desire to improve, their openness to feedback. How try hard they want to be in the game. Like, was your whole team like all super like we're gonna just spend 45 minutes not playing but studying? Were they all down?
Oh yeah. After half a season of losing, we were ready to turn things around.
That's true.
Maybe at first we were really more in the vein of like, we just want to kind of have fun with it and stuff. And then we were like, okay, well, we're not having fun with it when we lose every match. So let's do something. And it just ended up being, okay, let's, I think I have it. But yeah, it was just like, let's spend the time to learn something and get it down. And then we can go from there.
Losing is a great catalyst for.
Oh yeah.
Saying
losing
I don't want to lose
feature,
anymore.
Right?
Yeah. And the worst. Oh man, I hate losing so flippin' much. I'm like thinking about the matches we lost a match last week and I'm just still mad about it. But that's incredible. And did you? I'm curious now about this team, like being able to like you had this losing together, and the team stayed through it. Obviously, was that a difficult thing? Like, was the team kind of in this like flux, or like was there like toxicity and tension before you kind of had this like epiphany or this come to Paradox moment?
Definitely. Yeah. There was a bit of like, I wouldn't call it like animosity between the people, but it was a lot of like something's not working, and we were kind of getting in a bit with each other of like, it must be this, it must be, well, no, it can't be that because this or whatever. And eventually we just kind of agreed, like, I don't think any of us really know what's going on in this game too well. So let's go get some like actual coaching from somebody who really knows what they're doing. And then we can try to take another look at it. And that was like a big part of our turnaround, was just like everybody kind of humbling themselves and agreeing that like, we're all losing together. Something's not working. It's not any individual's fault. Like the team as a whole is a team as a whole. So we can't go around, blaming everybody else, right? It's at some point you have to accept a little bit of responsibility on yourself. Whether you really think it's your fault at all, I think it's always a good idea to remain somewhat humble in that regard. Because if you're losing, there's always something you could be doing better. Oh, yeah. Hello. The cat has shown up.
What's the cat's name?
Adora, after the TV show.
Oh, Dora the Explorer?
Oh, no, not Dora. Adora.
I'm just being stupid.
From She-Ra, Princesses of Power. Amazing show.
I don't.
Watch it on Netflix if you guys haven't seen it.
I'll have to look it up.
It's really, really good. Here's the cat again for those who didn't get a good look.
Easy cat pics. So I'm fascinated because my team recently we talked about it. We said, look, Like, should we go to Fury and get coaching from Fury? Should we go to Masquerade? Should we go to Paradox? We like broke down some of the options. We looked at prices. Ultimately, we decided not to. But I'm curious, like, have you guys gone back and, you know, paid for it? Have any of you gone back and paid for a second round? Not sponsored, by the way, by Paradox.
I haven't.
Paradox, get at me.
I haven't. I don't know if anybody else on the team has gone back after, but I think really what helped us was the kind of kick in the butt that he gave us after our match that we sent in. It was more of like lighting a fire, right? Where once that fire was lit, it didn't really seem necessary to pay for it again when there's a lot of free content out there that explains all of this stuff. So it was helpful to have that like personalized individual feedback. But I think he did a really good job of like pointing us in the right direction and letting us figure out the rest.
So he did his job too well then, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Dang, Paradox. Gotta hold some back, baby. And now you got the doc and you're sharing the doc? Oh, man. You're putting him out of business.
Yeah, I got it out there. I can share some of the scouting docs we put together, too.
You mean like scouting docs like of like your opponent's teams?
Oh, yeah. I put together huge scouting docs every week. That was a big part of what helped us turn things around, too. I never went into a match not knowing what the other team was going to pick in a draft or how the other team was going to play a map. That was a big part of like, if we're going to feel confident on a map, we need two parts of that. We need to know how we play the map, and we need to know how our opponents are going to play the map.
So this is fascinating because a lot of times on my team, on other teams, scouting is like, oh, let's go to their hero's profile and let's sort heroes by over 50 games and then sort from top to bottom. Here's the 5 most played heroes. But what you're describing is deeper than that. Like, I'd love to hear about like what you were looking. Like, did you watch all these? Did you watch their replays? Did you watch their casts? And like, what kind of things were you looking for?
Yeah, I watched replays a lot. I watched any of the casts that they had available. Sorry, I'm trying to find the doc. But no, I would watch replays specifically looking at like, oh, this is them playing on Volskaya. Mm-hmm. What do they do in the first 5 minutes on Volskaya? Like, how do they try to set up their early game so that they can win the game? How can we play to not let them do that? Or is what they're doing nothing we really need to worry about and we can just play our game? Like, if they do something super special that we have to account for that our normal strategy doesn't cover, you know, maybe they're cheesing a lane with Sylvanas or something really early and they get a whole structure out of it if we don't respond. That's something we have to know ahead of time, right? Or maybe they have somebody who plays, you know, Abathur Illidan combos, right? And it's just really hard to get around it in the late game or something. We need to be prepared for that. So trying to watch games and actually see how they play as opposed to just, oh yeah, they play this hero a lot, let's ban them. A lot of it was like, yeah, they play this hero a lot. Let me go watch a game where they've played that hero. Oh yeah, they are pretty good at that hero. We should probably ban that out. That's a really good choice. Or yeah, they're good at the hero. It's comfortable for them, but it's nothing that's gonna like totally throw us off our game. That's kind of how we picked the priorities for bans because you only get 3. It's not like you can ban them out of their whole, hero pool. They're gonna get people they play. So, in my opinion, it was always worth the time to watch 1 or 2 games of the team that you were playing the next week. It wasn't all their games. It's not like 50 games or something. And it's not something that I would have to do alone. I could always ask, if I'm busy one week, I can be like, hey, Kryn, go watch 1 to 2 matches. Hey, Stoic, go watch 1 to 2 matches of this team this week. And let me know what you think about them at our next practice, Yeah. And just that like 5 to 10 minute conversation at the start of practice, like, hey, this is the team we're fighting next week. This is what we need to think about. That can help focus the practice towards this is what should be, this is what we should be focusing on this practice. They're going to be really good at doing this, the macro on Sky Temple. Let's focus on making sure we know how to respond to that. Because that's what you're going to play that week, right? So that's what you should be practicing for.
There's a subtle, like, I feel like leadership strategy that maybe is not intentional here, but like also like by dispersing the scouting and saying, hey, Kryn, I need you to watch Kryn of the Shadow Realm. Please go, leave the darkness and go watch this VOD. I mean, did you find that gave your players like a confidence boost, that they felt like they had like an edge?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think engaging the whole team in doing it was super, super important. It's always a good idea to try and get, each individual to feel like they have a part to contribute to the group as a whole. And that was definitely something I was doing intentionally. Yeah, it wasn't always like, hey, I need you to watch these 2 games because I don't have time. A lot of it was, hey, can you watch these 2 games this week and report back? Because I want them to feel like I'm contributing something beyond just gameplay to the team. It helps people get invested more.
Yeah, I've noticed that for our team. Like, I play for PRC, and we had this, like, not deja vu. We lost, and so we were pissed because we hate losing, and we decided to like diversify roles, where a different person took over scouting, but then one person took over scrims, and one person took over draft, and we all dispersed roles, and we saw a huge bump in our play because there was like more of an involvement. I feel like a lot of teams are like, there's like one person who just like drives the whole car and tries, like, the whole train becomes like they are engine, conductor, caboose, the whole kit in caboodle. And that's a lot for one person to do, but then everyone else kind of feels isolated. Like, do I get to say what I want to play in draft? Do I get to say we should ban this? Do I get to say we should make this macro call? It becomes a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it helps everybody just kind of feel more like a unit too. Like, there's a little bit of camaraderie that comes around. Hey, I got to contribute something this week, and somebody else contributed something else last week, and we can all kind of appreciate each other for the work that gets done. And it's helpful to lean on people, right? Like, one person shouldn't be doing it all by themselves. At least in my opinion, you're just making it harder for yourself than you need to.
No doubt. But now I'm fascinated. You dropped the word camaraderie. You lost Kryn, so your captainship inspired Kryn so much that he went and started his own team, CCS 5. When you come back, season 12, shout out to season 12.
Hopefully.
Are you going to look to try and bring on the exact same roster as before? You said you had 6, so would you bring on the other 4 and somebody flexes back to tank, or what's kind of the plan there? Like, losing one member, does that throw off the vibe?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the players that we had last season moved on to other teams this season too.
Oh.
It was something of, I wasn't able to, take on the time this season. I mentioned earlier that I was moving in March and had a lot of life stuff going on in the last couple months that it was just like, I don't have time to play the game for 30 hours a week. And really, if I'm playing competitively, that's kind of what I want to be putting in 25, 30 hours a week, because I want to win. I want to be better. I want to do the best I can. So I was up front with the team at the end of the season. I was like, hey guys, start looking for other teams if you want to keep playing. I'm not going to be able to captain next season. If somebody wants to step up for CCS4 and be captain, by all means, go ahead. Kryn was like, I'm starting CCS5.
I'm out of here.
I'm out. And a lot of people were like, all right, well, we're going to, move on. And I think a lot of them ended up still within the CCS span. Somewhere between CCS 5 and CCS 10 or whatever we're up to now.
Yeah. So give us a rundown for those of you. We've had so many teams join. So for those who weren't part of the cheer squad or were on a team in season 10, what was the roster for CCS?
Our roster was myself on Flex, Kryn on tank, Great Putu, also known as 3 Feet in the Discord, on mages and auto attackers, depending on what the comp called for. Lion Bella on healer or mage, again, depending on what the comp called for. Subutai on healer, and Bimetaho, sorry, pronounced his name wrong. Bimetaho, on the offlane. And that was the comp. And actually, I have a doc.
You're the doc master. Is that true?
I have a OneNote of all of season 10.
I love it.
I was super organized. I love making Excel sheets and docs and everything. It's helpful for me to have everything written down.
Called. I love it. Anyway, so you have a doc. I cut you off.
Yeah, let me share it. Anyone with the link can view. Yep, I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, baby. Docs for days.
Hey, yo. Just so that I didn't give out too much, that's just the scouting doc that I did for our own team. Yes, I put one together for our own team. I wanted to, I did the same process that I did for all the other teams on ourselves, because I wanted to know what other teams would see when they tried to scout us. I wanted to know, what are they going to ban into us? What do we need to be ready for them to try and play against us? And I was tried to be as honest with it as I could. There's a little bit of banter in there, but and it's casual. It's not, I'm not trying to be like super serious about everything. So there's jokes and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I just tried to put together the scouting process. This is just so I don't, call out some other team or something. And I honestly don't know what I may or may not have written in some of the other team's scouting docs. I don't want to appear, a lot of these were for personal use. So I might just be like, this person sucks on this here. I don't want to like put that out into the world.
Uh-oh. Did I lose him? Oh no. Chat, can you? Oh wait. Oh, I got you. Ooh. You froze. I thought I froze. I was scared, but we're here. No, we're all good. We're all good. We're Gucci.
Yeah, my internet like freaked out for a sec. Okay.
All right, but we're all good. Man, you're the doc master. You love to see it.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, I just love putting together docs.
Yeah,
I have to read them all day for work. I might as well put them together. I work in software development, so a lot of my time is spent reading functional requirements documents. So
what do you do? I'm a PM.
I work at Mercury Insurance, actually.
Okay.
In the IT department.
Gotcha. I'm a product.
So I work on internal systems. I can't really say much more than that, but
fair. I'm a product manager, and I work on internal software too. That's good stuff. So I also like docs. I like it speaks to me.
I mean, at least for my mind, it helps organize everything so that I'm not just trying to think like, what did I remember about watching that game the other day? It's like, no, I watched the game and I wrote it down. So now I don't have to remember.
Oh yeah, I think I have dementia. I just like cannot remember anything. Like it's so embarrassing. Like my wife just makes fun of me because she remembers like all the birthdays. Summer knows everything, and I like know literally nothing. And she's she's calling me out.
My fiance is amazing. I wouldn't remember what I had for breakfast if it weren't for her.
Yeah. So. Shout out to all the partners out there. So you lost Kryn to 5 and Bimeduho to 8, at least. Do you think if you brought it back, could you get him back? Could you bring it back for a CCS4 reunion team?
I don't know about Kryn, but I think I could get the rest of them back. Yeah. And I mean, that's if they want to, Subutai, I think, left the scene because he's getting busy. His wife was pregnant at the time, so he's got a newborn, either here or on the way. I wasn't sure how far along she was when the season was over, but man, it's been, it was quite a ride. I don't know if we'd be able to get everybody back, but I think we could get the good majority of them.
Interesting. And what would be your selling point? Like, they're on a current team, winning or losing season. Like, what would be your pitch? I'm curious.
Hey, do you want to come back and have fun? That's really, I mean, we had a great time together. We all got along really well. There was a lot of like just general friendship among the team. I mean, we're all on another Discord server together because I invited them all over for D&D stuff at some point. So like we all have stayed friends outside of it. So I always find HOTS is more fun to play with your friends, rather than just trying to play it with people who maybe are, a little bit better or a little bit worse or whatever. But I feel like that friendship aspect is really important to getting people to come back and have a good time. I like to think that I was a good captain. I like to think that I never really like made anybody mad or upset or something. I try to keep it pretty low key. Like everybody has the same. It was never like a hierarchy thing. When I was captain, it was never like, oh, I'm captain, you have to listen to me. I made the shot call, you have to listen to what I said. And I mean, in the moment of a match, it was like if a call's being made, you listen to it, and if it screws up, then the person who called it owns it, and you figure out what to do next time. But outside of like those moments where it's like, yeah, we really need like one voice, everybody had equal voice, everybody had equal participation, everybody was equal on the team. I never wanted anybody to feel like, well, I'm just a member, or I'm the tank, so I'm more important. Although Kryn may have gotten that idea anyways. Kept flipping, using his Diablo cues to flip out all those KT cues. We stopped comboing Diablo and KT because Kryn couldn't help himself but to push and flip all the enemies away from the KT damage. It was
my God.
uncanny. And I can say it because he's not here to defend himself.
Instincts. Kryn stinks.
Oh, yeah.
So you said that like you'd bring him back on the prospect of fun. Like, hey, you aren't gonna say like, hey, come back to win. It's come back for fun. Do you think that the equality that you were just describing was the key to that fun, or was there something else that was really the fun driver?
I think setting it up the way I did from the start, where I was like, I want everybody to be on the same page here. I don't want anybody to be main and alternate. I don't want anybody to like, we had 6 people. Not everybody can play every match. I was always willing to sit out if the other 5 wanted to all play. And usually we never had an issue. I don't actually think we ever had an issue with who's going to sit out one match versus the other. A lot of the times it was like, hey, I just played, so I can sit out and you can let the other person play in. Or, we both cover the same role, so one will play, one won't. And just whatever ended up, oh, I can't make it this week. Cool, we still have 5. And I totally got on a tangent. But I do think that setting that up from the start helped it become a fast friend group, and then once you're friends, everything's fun, right?
Yeah. And so I'm fascinated here because like we're gonna have it. The season is fast. Like the end is fast approaching. Fast approaching. We're gonna have lots of Nexomania season time, and then we're gonna have August. July and August be season 12. For people who want to start their own teams or are gonna have like a reset within their team. What advice would you give a captain on, starting on that right foot? Or what advice would you give a not captain on, pushing to have that same kind of start?
Yeah. Honestly, open communication is the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to say something if it's on your mind. The worst somebody can do is, yell at you and say no and get mad. And then you can be like, wow, you're not that great of a person. Because I was just trying to bring up something that I, personally had an idea of, and you can disagree, but you don't have to attack me for it. That kind of stuff. So as long as everybody's like cool and not like total a-hole, then just talk about it. Talk about everything openly. Like just really like anything that's on your mind, especially if you're not a captain, go to your captain when you have questions. I can assure you they will be happy to answer them. I love when my team members would bring me like, hey, I'm not really understanding how this works, or, oh, my schedule changed this week and I have work this day, or like tell stuff as soon as you know it. And as soon as you have a question, ask it. No question is dumb, right? A lot of that mentality comes from the short time that I taught. Because I was a substitute teacher for all of like a month. But both my parents were teachers, so I got a lot of that from them. Just like always, like never be afraid to speak up if you have a question. I know that it's hard, and a lot of people that play games, especially online games, tend to have like trouble with that and feel like somebody's going to judge them for their opinion or like look down on them negatively for having a question about something that maybe they think should be obvious. But I guarantee you, if you're having a question about it, somebody else on the team is having a question about it. Somebody else in the community is having a question about it. Like, don't be afraid to put a question in general, or I don't know where questions are posted nowadays in the CCS chat, but put a question in the Discord channel or whatever you use for team communication. It doesn't have to be Discord. Please don't let it be Skype. But yeah, it's just from my perspective, it's all about open communication and just like being honest with people and being respectful of people. Like, you just got to understand that like when somebody has a question, it's not always easy to bring it up. So you just be like, thank you for asking the question. Now I know, right? If you never ask, I can never know. I can't read your mind as much as I wish I could sometimes, but that's a big part of it for me. And then for the captains, like looking to reset the team or find new members or that kind of stuff, start asking now, honestly. Tryouts are a long process. It's not going to take a week to find the perfect fit, right? Like, you got to find people that you get along well with. You got to find people that have like that right sense of humor to fit into the group and that sort of thing. Especially if you're trying to like slot one new person into a big group, it can be kind of tough. Like finding somebody that works well with your shot calling or, has the right practice schedule or whatever. It's always nice to just have a little bit more time, right? So it's never too early to start. Like, start putting the feelers out now. Season might not be over, but if you know somebody's leaving, you know somebody's, doesn't have the chance to play next season, or you're looking to put together a whole new team, start asking. NGS Discord is great for that. You can start saying, hey, I'm looking to put together a new team. Anybody interested? You don't have to get a response. If nobody responds, all right, try again in a couple of weeks. Maybe people don't know yet,
So, this is an interesting idea here. Let's imagine that, like you said, Subotai is not going to come back.
I don't know if he'll come back. He definitely wasn't going to be back this season. Probably not next season either. I don't know. Again, I don't remember how far along his wife was, but he's going to have a newborn. That nevertheless, that's a lot of responsibility and time.
No doubt. Let's say that they take parental leave for season 12, and you're going to bring it back. So you don't have Kryn, but you can snipe Pimedo from CCS 8 or whatever. You're looking for that last spot or the last 2 spots to fill, maybe. What are you valuing when you are doing tryouts? This long process. What are you looking for in a new person to bring into the CCS4 family?
Yeah, I'm looking for somebody that has a good I say good personality. I don't know if that's necessarily the words that I want to use. Trying to think of an actual phrase that sounds nice, but really I'm looking for somebody who's willing to come in and learn and have a good time, and be respectful. I'm not really, I don't need the god Ana player like Subotai was, or I don't need that 1-for-1 replacement, and people can always flex around and find new stuff. I just need an amicable personality. Thank you, Crush. Somebody who's willing to learn and sit down and get along, and somebody who's willing to bring new ideas. I think that's also really important. If you're bringing in new people, I want to know what they think. How do they think things should be run? Because you might have one idea of how things should go, and they may have a better idea than you do. Nobody knows everything, right? So we got to share ideas, we got to share knowledge, and then that way we can actually kind of bring things together. And I guarantee you, the team will always be better if everyone is bringing ideas to the table.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, would there be any red flags in this process of somebody says something or does something that's ooh, that's a no-go from me?
I don't know about any specific red flags. I think there's a kind of feeling people out. It's a matter of big red flags would be just absolute disrespect. If they're yelling at people, they're making personal attacks on people. They're disrespectful of people's lifestyle choices or whatever. That would be a big no-go for me. You got to be able to respect people. You got to be able to have that basic level of human decency where you're not going to go on personal attacks on somebody just because they messed up in a video game. Yeah. We all make mistakes. You should be better than that. And I think just that would be the big one for me. Is I don't think there's anything you could do as far as gameplay. I'm not going to cut you because you're too bad for the team or something. That's just not how I think about it. I'm well, if you're on the team, we'll get placed with your skill level in mind, because we'll all be together for that team. So for me, it's mostly a behavior sort of thing that would be those big red flags. Yeah. And don't B-step. That hurts my soul. Ooh. I do it in quick match, but that's only when they've been B-stepping me first, okay?
They did it first. They did it first.
It's different when they do it first.
I've taken no questions from chat. The Shadow Realm Kryn has not been helping me out with this. Usually he's holding it down. But Harkin Giant's Bane drops a really good one that I actually is a great one. What do you do if you've built this team of fun, and everyone is they're such good, they're so nice, no judgment, none of that. But we're working on you've got the dock on Volskaya, and they just every time they just don't go to the turret at 1 minute. How do you? Yeah. How did you? I'm sure things like that happen. You're no, we don't want to know exactly, but how did you respond if it happened? How would you respond if the same mistakes just keep happening?
Yeah, I think the first step in that is talk to them individually. Don't call I would never call someone out in front of the group and be hey, you're continually messing this up, and like try to embarrass them in front of everybody. I would usually message them and be like, hey, is everything all right? Like, we've been practicing this a bit. I noticed like, something was off, maybe about the way that they were behaving that day, or they just really don't get that one concept that you've been trying in the comp or in the map or something. And it's just like, they're really struggling to get that along. My response to that is, let me talk to them. Let me try to work with them one-on-one. Let me see if I can help them understand. And if it still comes to an issue there, and we're not already part of a team together, then maybe that's kind of where I'm like, all right, maybe you're not a great fit for the team. Where we've been trying out these concepts and they're just not really like meshing with you. Maybe it's, maybe it's us, maybe it's you, but for whatever reason, it's not, it's not fitting well. But if they're on the team at that point, man, I'm invested. I will help them understand.
And so what does that look like? I'm going to press a little harder here, because this, I think, is a challenge that every team goes through. Like, what does that look like? What does investing with them look like if they're just, if you've done it the right way, if you've done it the right way and you've like messaged them and you've like explained the concepts and they've said they're going to learn it, like, what do you do? Like BMed just will not stop feeding on Cassia. BMed just keeps running it down on Cassia.
That's a thought right there.
Like, what do you
BMed playing Cassia?
Yeah, like, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, what it really comes down to is trying to understand why it's happening. Because if you don't understand why, then you're never going to solve the problem, right? So you can reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm noticing this is happening. Please stop. Or you can reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm noticing this happening. What's going on from your perspective? And ask for their view of things. Because they're not going to be doing it on purpose unless they are, in which case that's more of a behavioral thing. BMed says, me feeding is more believable than me playing Cassia. All right, I'm with you on that one. But yeah, it comes down to trying to figure out why, and that's what the personal conversation is for, right? It's like, hey, I noticed you keep diving in on Cassia. What's going on? Like, when you do that, what's going through your head? Like, you're diving in 1v5. What's going through your head? Oh, well, I thought I could get that kill. Then it's like, all right, well, when we're in practice and those moments come up, I'm going to call it out, like, don't go in. I'm going to make sure that I call that every time until it starts to get through. Eventually, it will get through. Or if it's like, hey, I'm having a really hard time going up against this specific hero. Every time I play against like a Leoric, he just kills me. I get entombed, I die, and it's just not fun for me to play against Leoric. Then it might be, okay, then I'm going to play 1v1 with you and start going through like, what are Leoric's options here? What are your hero's options here? So that they can start to try and understand what the difference is. And BMed brings up a good point. What if their skull is pretty thick? Like, what if they're really just not getting it? And I think there's a point where it's like, that's okay. Like, we're here to have fun, It is competitive, but at the end of the day, if you're not having fun anymore, why are you doing it? And that's part of the question that you can bring up to them too. Like, I really don't have fun with the way that we play. I only like diving in. I don't care if I die. We've worked on it for a week and 3 weeks, 5 weeks. I don't care. I just want to dive in. It's like, okay, well, why are you playing the game still?
Yeah, there's a game mode for that. It's called ARAM.
Yeah, like, go play something else, And it's not to be like, uninstall, you can't play game. It's like, well, maybe this isn't the right format of the game for you. Like, if you enjoy the diving, the fiestas, go play quick match more. Like, there's part of the game for everybody. If you really want to look at the competitive stuff, you've got to kind of be ready to change and accept that your way of playing maybe isn't the perfect way. And that goes for everyone. The person who's captaining and trying to coach and all that stuff, they need to be ready to do that too.
Yeah. Harkin asks a follow-up question that, just give us a quick answer on this one, if you would, Arcane. How do you deal with someone who doesn't understand proper positional play for the role they're supposed to be playing? Do you feel it's coachable, or would you try them on a different role?
I think it's 100% coachable. Considering that I flexed from healer to offlane to damage dealers to tank, back to damage dealers. I think it is completely coachable. I still like to say that I suck at damage because, I started on bruisers and tanks and healers, and I was like, well, healers, I stand, pretty far back and get the healing in. Or if I'm like Uther or something, I'm running at the enemy team screaming, like, get over here, let me stun you. You might as well be a tank at that point. But up in your face and stuff. And with damage, it was like the first 4 months of me playing Falstad, it was like, why are you standing right next to them? You die every time because you stand right next to the tank and let them hit you. You can stand 6 feet away. It's fine. Social distance, And it took a long time for me to get that, but eventually it sticks. Eventually you're like, dying feels bad. How do I not die? And then that starts to become the way you play. And it switches from role to role. And honestly, if somebody's like, I just really don't enjoy that play style, I don't enjoy sitting back, and I'm like, okay, then ranged auto attackers aren't for you. If you're not having fun doing it, again, why are you doing it? Let's try you out on a different role. Maybe you can fit better on a bruiser. Maybe you can fit better on tank. If you really like being up in their face and controlling fights, let's switch you on to Diablo or something. Let's see how it works. I like that amount of flexibility from the team as well. That's kind of something I would look for when I'm putting a team together. And yes, Harkin, Uther is a tank. So it's fun running around in quick match and just winning because the other team doesn't know that you're a tank.
I feel like so many of these things like resonate from like a teaching perspective. Ask questions, be willing to be flexible. Like it sounds like you're like the hot teacher. Do you have any hot takes? Anything that like what you've said has been motivational, inspirational, but like everyone can get behind what you've just described, I think, for the most part. I mean, some people are a little bit less forgiving of their teammates or a little less willing to be flexible with their teammates, but that's a different thing. Do you have any hot takes that would that meme that's going around where everyone's like got the swords pointed at the guy from never mind. I'm embarrassing myself. Anyway, what are your hot takes?
My hot take, my biggest hot take as far as like coaching and captaining goes, is put your ego like 7 feet that way. I'm so sick of the people that come in and act like they know everything, man. It happens all the time. And it really bothered, like I know losing feels bad, but when you lose, you gotta be willing to look at it. Like you can't just ignore it. You can't just be like, it was a fluke, whatever. I'm great. I'm God. I'm super good at this game. Nothing's wrong. I have had teammates like that. And man, I am like so sick of that. I don't know if that's much of a hot take as much as more of like everybody can get behind not having an ego. But really, there are people that don't understand that like competitive games is not the place for ego. And that feels backwards. Right? Like I'm playing a competitive game because I want to feel good and win and feel like I'm great. No, you're playing a competitive game to try and get better.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that's a hot take.
I don't have too many. I'm a pretty chill person in general.
But it's a good one. I mean, and it's a good pet peeve that like if you're unable to, like the 12-step program, if you're unable to recognize that you have a problem, you're never going to be able to fix it. If your ego is standing in the way of you looking in the mirror and going like, yeah, I kind of sucked, then you're never going to get it better. Like you're going to continue to weigh your team down, and that doesn't have a place in competitive. Like there is some kind of like opposite. You need to have the confidence to pog, but like also like the humility to say, yeah, I kind of dropped the ball there, fam.
Yeah. If you want a real hot take,
that's all we're here for, baby.
Crane's not that great at Diablo.
Oh my goodness.
Not as good as he thinks he is.
I wish Crane would just like join the call right now. Like
I really do. I really wish he had.
What was that?
And also TLV is the best hero in the game. Fight me.
All good hot takes.
I mean, yes, B Metaho. Kryn's May is godly, and any team that lets Kryn play May is doing something wrong. Sorry, Kryn, for calling you out. I hope your opponents are watching.
I was talking to somebody who said I was talking to somebody this weekend who said the very same thing about Tremor, almost exactly. So Kryn, if you watch this back, and I hope you do, brother, they said what they say about you, they say about Tremor. Let's see. I'm going through my list of questions here. I think I'm gonna run some from the chat if that's good with you. And if it's not, well, too bad. I'm gonna ask some questions from the chat because we haven't had very many. Valcomer's dropped quite a few, and I'll ask these.
Looking back, Val questions, I love them.
Looking back to see not as many of the silly ones. Maybe I haven't read them. Looking back to CCS4's run last season, how strong you all looked then. What do you think each team member brought to create the magical mix?
You want me to go through them individually, Val? I can do that.
We want the individuals.
All right.
We want to hear their names, baby.
I'm going to do mine last because myself, I don't like talking about myself. All right. Let's start with Great Putu. Great Putu brought the fire. He was always the one that was like, we lost a match. He's like, what are we doing wrong? How do we fix it? What do we do? I hate losing. Let's fix this. Like every single match, that was his response to a loss. And it was great because it kicked us all in the butt to be like, yeah, we need to fix something. Subutai was like honestly, Subutai was like the team grandpa. And I don't just say that because he was older than the rest of us by like 10 years. But, that's not very much time for a grandpa. But he was like so chill and just reminding us to like keep level heads, make sure that like, because Putu and I like to get a little feisty in the game. We're doing some calls. It's like, oh, I got him, kill him. And he's like, don't chase. And he'd be on Ana in the back, and he's got like 3 of the enemy team on him, and he's like, no, I'm fine, I'm healing, it's fine. And he would call only when we were done with our stuff. And it's like, how do you stay alive during those moments? But Subadai's Ana it's absolutely terrifying in general. But personality-wise, he brought the like, let's keep things like, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. Like I do want to win, but like let's communicate effectively here. BMed 100%. BMed, I gotta shout you out on this. I don't think I ever had to worry about anything other than the enemy team when you were playing. Like literally, anytime that we had a game with you, it was like, oh, do I need to worry about playing macro? No. Just go fight the enemy team. It's ARAM. Like that was the game with you, BMed. It was great. Especially as somebody who's like, was just starting to play damage dealers that game. It's like, oh, should I go soak that lane because I have like auto attack? No, it's already soaked actually. No, that camp that, it was already grabbed on time. Yeah. And BMed was doing macro calls for us all the time. It was like, hey, this camp's coming up. Hey, that team, their team just went missing from top. Hey, like that kept us alive more times than I want to count. Because if I counted it, I'd feel embarrassed at how many times we would have died without BMed's macro calls. Lion Bella, like unironically, was one of our most toxic players in the chat. As far as shot calls goes, but it always came from a place of love. It always was like she'd be like blasting somebody on Chromie or Lunara or something, and it's always like it's from a place of like I want my team to do well, so I'm gonna start like hyping people up. That she brought the hype every game. It was like we're starting to turn thing. Oh god, there's a.
It's got to be PG-13 though.
Yeah, obviously. And she did actually most of the time, despite being the hype man, or hype woman, I suppose. And the best example I have is she was playing Orphea, and we were on, Tomb of the Spider Queen, and we were taking boss, and she was taking boss, and then Sonya from the other team started walking up towards boss, and the rest of the team came up, and she was like, "Oh, you want to go, Sonya? Oh, you want to go?" And she like jumped up, did crushing jaws, and like one shot to Sonya in a single combo. And was like, "That's how we do it." And I was just like, "Yes, let's go." It just brought the stinking hype, man. And then we wipe the team and we take the boss and we win the game. And it's all because we're all like, yes, let's go, let's do this. Like just that confidence boost from those little moments with Lion Bella were great. And let's see, Kryn. What did Kryn bring to the team? Well, Kryn flipped a lot of Qs and E's out of the damage. Kryn, lived in the Shadow Realm for a long time. What else good? No, seriously though, Kryn was amazing. I mean, going from not really have ever playing the game competitively before to being our main shot caller, and our solo tank player, like absolutely amazing. And going from like, I've never played competitively to I've started a team in the next season. Just like absolutely love the enthusiasm and the energy from Kryn. It's like, it's so nice to have someone who's as invested in everything as you are, like somebody who you can just kind of talk to and you can feel that they have the same love for the thing that you're interested in as you do. And that's what I get from Kryn. And that's a lot of what Kryn brought to the team too. And he's like a meme lord, so there was all that going around too. I don't think a day goes by in our Discord channel where Kryn's not sharing like 7 memes. It's amazing. And he's got all the stupid like Pepe laugh and Keck W reaction faces to everything.
He has all the Keck W's.
Oh God.
And the what were you bringing to the Magic
brings
games?
up a good point. Our whole team was meme lords, but still. Yeah, Kryn was just such a great personality, and I'm sad that he couldn't have been here tonight because I was gonna riff on him a lot more than I have. But yeah, it's been good having the conversation at least.
Yeah.
As far as what I brought, I think I've talked about what I brought for this whole podcast. I tried to approach the team as like, this is a learning experience for everyone. We're trying to all become friends with each other. We're also trying to do well at a game. Let's just keep things like chill and happy, and we're all equals here. And I'll worry about scheduling the matches. You guys don't worry about that. But everything else, let's work together on.
That's awesome. And that's true. You really have brought that. Next question from Valk is, if each member of CCS4 built an RGB computer mega room, what color would each player choose as their main option? And then why? And you can just give us
it's easy. It's green because his favorite color is green. That's why he plays goblins and orcs, if you didn't know. Mine would be purple or blue. In fact, it is purple or blue. Maybe I can get it in camera here. Oh, you're seeing behind the green screen now. Let's see if I can.
Oh, the blue machine.
Oh yeah, purple and blue, right there. Get that back. Oh no, my green screen's all messed up now. There we go. We're back. All right. So yeah, I would be purple and blue. We've got the green from B-Minaho. I'm hesitant to say that Super Tie would be like a light blue. Purely because of the chill factor. And also just like Anna in general. That kind of like navy, but it's lighter than navy. I don't know what to call it. I'm colorblind anyways. We've got Great Putu, who would be, oh God, I'm going to get it wrong, even though he's the friend that I started all this with. But yeah, Great Putu would be, I have Protonopia, so I have like blue, yellow, and yellow, orange, red are the most ones that I can't see for the question in chat. Sorry, got distracted. Or is it Tritonopia? I can never remember the name of it, but it's red, orange, and yellow are the colors I can't see the difference between. So like if you show me, I don't know, something that's red, orange, and yellow, it all looks the same color to me. Which is fun when there's like logos that are like, yeah, we outlined that red word in yellow letters so you could see it against the red background. And I'm like, there's a word there? Anyway, Putu. Let's just call Putu red because KT. Let's just, and also the absolute fire personality. And then let's see, Lion Bella would be like dark purple or black. And you know that's right, and you don't need to ask me why. Uh, for those that know Lion Bella. God, and who's myself, Putu, Fumina host, Subutai, Lion Bella, and Kryn, right?
Kryn's also black.
Kryn's also black. I mean, he lives in the Shadow Realm, so.
Thanks for coming out, Kryn. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, appreciate it, Kryn.
That's a good one. Osprey in the Discord chat has asked, you watch CCS matches regularly. It's great to see the support. Do you blindly bet all your channel points on them like an irrational fanboy clutching your favorite amulet/idol? The answer is yes. Who is your favorite CCS team to watch right now?
My favorite CCS team to watch right now is CCS 5 and CCS 8, just because of my personal attachment to the players there. But I also like watching CCS 1, the OGs. I bet all my points against them, of course. That's some little old Rushby rivalry coming back, though.
Hey, let's go.
We had a big rivalry season 6 between Rushby and CCS. So when I told the old friends that I had joined CCS and become a captain, they were like, "We can't be friends anymore."
Oh.
I was like, "Well, fine then. I'll just be friends with the CCS guys."
Yeah, a choice was made. You traded up, I think.
Yeah.
Easy. That's way more than a CPX trade, baby. Last question.
Yeah, I got some GME real low there.
Oh, there we go. GME. Last question from the Discord comes from Manaressa, who asks a question about spreadsheets. How does having a 6-person flexible roster work with having such detailed documentation? How do you plan for that?
So a lot of it comes down to being a little bit more general with the planning. A lot of our draft planning was not these specific heroes, but more we need this out of a hero. So we need peels from a tank, or we need double soaking from an offlaner, or maybe we need better team fight from an offlaner, or we need good anti-burst from a healer, or good sustained healing from a healer, or we need strong auto attack or strong poke, or strong burst damage from a mage. So rather than saying like, well, we want Diablo KT or Joanna Anduin or something, it was, what heroes do we have that fill these roles? And not like the traditional, well, we need a tank, we need a mage, we need a healer, but we need burst damage, we need a peeling tank versus a diving tank. Those sort of things. And then the roster becomes less, well, this person has to play healer, and okay, we need a burst healer. What are the burst healers that the two of you play? What are the mages that the two of you play? Or, however many people are playing that role. And we can figure out which hero fits that slot best at the time. There were matches where we would go in with the 5-man roster in a draft, and we wouldn't have had decided who was playing healer yet. Because it depends on who gets banned or who gets picked on the other team and what we need in response. So every match was kind of a toss-up as far as drafting went. And we did have docs and stuff about our draft, so trust me. I have a whole roster draft. I'm not going to share it because I don't want to give all the deets out, but I had a whole big old draft about, these are all the heroes this person plays. These are all the heroes this person plays. They fill these qualifying roles. Everything's documented. And as far as the 6-man, like deciding who plays when, a lot of it was based off the scouting. It was, well, we noticed that this team does really well into these heroes, or into these sorts of compositions. So we need, Lion Bella on white main for this game, as opposed to Subutai on Ana. And so we'll bring Lion Bella in and have Subutai sit out for that game. And then if that doesn't work, it might be like, okay, well, let's try Lion Bella on a mage and get Subutai in on Ana, or, some other healer like Deckard. And then we'll have, I'll cover offlane and B-Med will sit out or something. A lot of the times, too, it came down to like, hey, I can't play past like 9 p.m. So we'd have a match that would go till 9:30. All right, well, I'm dropping off. And somebody else would swap in. Or, I'm really not feeling well this week. I'm not feeling up to playing. Okay, we still have 5. That's really how the scheduling ended up happening most of the time. But the match days where we did have all 6 people available, I don't think we played 2 matches in a row with the same 5. there was a lot of on the fly adjustment happening.
And this might end up being maybe our last question.
Yeah.
But it's about your team. It's about some of the things you've been talking about. It's about some of the philosophy of HOTS that you've shared with us here. Like, did that make the team better? Like, that kind of flexibility, did that improve? I guess and there's two sides of this. Did the flexibility you're describing, did that improve your competitiveness, and did that improve the team fun?
I think it actually hurt our competitiveness, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Especially early on, not having like, oh, we have, these two comps that were good. If they ban one, we can pick the other. Really hurt us in drafts, and we were losing games in draft a lot early on. And as we got more comfortable doing drafts, the CCS Discord mock draft channel helped me a lot with that. But as we got better at doing the drafts, and I got better at scouting the other team and figuring out what we would need, and we transitioned from we need these heroes to we need these sorts of qualities of heroes. Once we did that transition, I think it helped a lot in that. But I think having that flexibility helped on the fun level for sure. But until we got used to it, it very, very much hurt our competitiveness. Once we got used to it, I think it was a slight edge because we could kind of throw other teams off with the scouting, but I don't think like from a gameplay perspective, it was any sort of advantage. Maybe a mind game thing in the drafts, but other than that, I don't think it was too much of an advantage. Because really, what it would come down to a lot of the times is like, well, we have like two heroes that fit that quality, so it's going to be one of those two. And whoever ends up playing it doesn't, it matters because whoever's better at it, but it doesn't matter from like we're going to do better at the game because we have one person who can play this hero versus another person who can play that hero. It would have been the same if we had one person who could play both, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no. I think I see what you're saying. But ultimately, like, it made things more fun, more flexible, like better team environment. And it seems to me like from what I've been getting, like, while you're down for the competition, like that was most important for CCS.
Oh, yeah.
But it's great though that you guys were taking the dubs by the end of the season. I mean, you were laying down the wood.
Yeah. Once we really started to get used to each other, that was huge. Let me see if I can. Maybe I can share the doc. It's been a while since those heroes were particularly, and I think our choices have changed a lot. Let me see if I can do this.
The blessed doc number 3 about to be dropped in the chat.
Yeah,
while you're looking for that, our wrap up questions are going to ensue. The first being, is there stuff that you thought we were going to? I guess me in the dark shadow that is Crinetics. Is there stuff that you thought we were going to ask that we didn't? And if so, what is it? What was it?
Is there anything that I thought you guys were going to ask that you didn't? I thought you'd ask me a little bit more about what I've been doing outside of HOTS since I took so much time off of it. So I had prepared to talk about that a little bit.
Well, tell us, what have you been up to?
A couple of things. I've been putting together a YouTube channel.
Oh, baby.
Which has been pretty fun. As you can see by the nice production quality I've got going on here. You can check out my YouTube channel at, it's called Arcane Arboretum, which is like Magic Garden. I have a Bloodborne playthrough that I just finished. Just wrapped up.
Always have wanted to play that.
I just posted a huge dump on April 1st as a joke on Great Putu. He's been writing a novel of our D&D campaign, and I recorded the whole thing as an audiobook. It was more of a joke on myself by the end of it because, oh my goodness, I recorded like 11 hours of audio.
I love it.
But it was quite fun to do the audiobook recording. So if you guys like fantasy novels, you can check out the audiobook version or read the original on Archive. Archive of Our Own, for those that don't know it. It's like a fan fiction sharing site, but he's just been kind of self-publishing there. And then I've also been painting miniatures lately. I just got into that.
Oh, like Warhammer or?
Not Warhammer yet, but just because the models are too expensive and I don't want to mess them up.
Are you gonna go get one for us?
I'm gonna grab a couple.
Oh, baby. While he's going to get that for us, if you're out in chat, make sure you go to Arcane Arboretum Arboretum, however he pronounced it, on YouTube. You can just look that up, and follow him on YouTube. Make sure to get this man some love. Go look up the novel he just dropped on Archive Hours. What was it?
Archive of Our Own.
Archive of Our Own. Go look up the.
Also called AO3 for short.
AO3.
Not to be confused with AOC.
Not to be confused with ROG.
For those who follow American politics for whatever reason.
Yeah, go like, comment, and subscribe on all of Arcane's videos on YouTube.
I would love it.
Smash that like button.
Very much. So some of the miniatures I've been working on. Let's see if the camera will focus on them. See, this is the first one I did. It's not that great. If the camera will decide to focus. Oh, it's also being green screened out because it's a green color. So let me turn that off real quick.
Oh, baby.
You guys get a peel back the veil here. Is there a way I can just turn it off? There we go. Without having to delete it. All right. So, come on, camera. I believe in you.
Like the beauty influencers do.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There
So I worked on this guy. Just painted him. He was my first paint. It took me probably like 4 hours, which is, not too impressive, but had a lot of fun with doing this. I've painted a couple others. So this was my most recent one that I finished.
Wow.
Looks a little bit nicer.
Oh my goodness. So let me tell you, I did some Warhammer back in the old days.
Yeah.
And I was awful. Oh man, I had the coolest ideas for my Tyranids, and they were
Tyranids, man.
They were so epic, and they were just so ugly. And I think they're still in my basement, like half assembled and half painted, because I was just so frustrated at how incompetent I was.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of practice. I've stripped a lot of these and repainted them and over again to try and get it right. This is the one that I haven't painted it yet, but I did some sculpting work on it to try and fill in some stuff for it.
Okay.
So this is one of the ones that I want to paint soon, but we'll see how that goes.
And these are for your D&D campaign.
Yeah. I'm actually creating a big old homebrew D&D campaign with a custom world and everything. I've got B-Meds actually playing in that campaign. So there you go for the friendship part.
There we go.
I actually have something for that too.
Oh.
It's hanging on my wall, literally right here. Didn't have to go far. I got this commissioned on Fiverr actually. And then I framed it myself. But it's a big custom map of my campaign, which I don't know how well you can see it. I don't know if that's coming through at all because I can't see my screen anymore.
We're seeing mostly just your desktop. It's 50-50.
Yeah, that's
50-50 your screen, 50-50
yeah, but I mean, lots of fun stuff that I've been working on. Just trying to diversify things a little bit.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you shared that. I was going to ask for shout-outs next. You've given us a few. Other shout-outs. I mean, you've been doing a great job shouting out your team, the community, lots of people from your history. But other shout-outs as we're wrapping up tonight that you want to make sure that you go on the air and shout out, I guess.
Yeah, shout-outs to Valk's mom, of course. Gotta do it. It's mandatory at this point. Let me turn that... I don't like seeing the green behind me. There we go. Beautiful.
It's magic.
Shout outs to Simple Flips. That's another meme. And then shout outs to the old team. Shout outs to, Kryn, B-Med, Great Poo 2, Lion Bella, Subutai, of course. Shout outs to you for talking to me for an hour and a half. Not a lot of people will listen. I don't even think my fiance would listen to me for this long. So, especially not about video games.
I played a video game with my spouse, and she doesn't listen to me for this long. So, I understand where you're coming from. Actually, she's been in chat. Thanks for being in chat tonight.
Shout outs to my fiance for dealing with me, dealing with all my strange obsessions and me dumping my stimulus check into paints and miniatures.
When the stimmy hits.
And yeah, I just thanks so much for having me as part of the CCS community. It's been a great ride. Looking forward to coming back at some point.
I mean, you're still here. You're still part of the community. We're excited to have you back representing us. Capital BYE coming out from Summer. Which, I mean, Arcane, you've been a great guest. You've been a great staple of the community. You know, really like bringing in the fam, keeping them around, keeping things going. We're glad you've been on the Crinetics, and I are glad you've been on the show. We're excited to announce.
Thanks for having me, Crin. Thanks for having me, Stoic.
Of course, we're excited to announce that our next guest will be CCS 7's very own Hot Like Summer. So catch us here next week on Storm_Stoic on Twitch, where we interview Hot Like Summer. But we'll be at 10 o'clock Eastern. We'll be moving to a new time. A new standard time, which will be 10 o'clock Eastern on Sundays. So catch Summer here next week. We'll have to do something with the cameras because, for those of you who didn't know, Summer sits right there. So we'll figure something out there. Arcane, it's been great to have you. We're excited for hopefully season 12 when we see CCS 4 back on the menu, boys. We've shouted out Valk's mom. Crin isn't here with us to make sure we get all of the things we need to do. If you're still here in chat, thanks for hanging out. You guys have been amazing. Chat interactions have been awesome with some great questions. It's been fun to see you all hanging out. Make sure to follow so you're ready when we go live next week, 10 o'clock with Summer. And I think that's it. Thanks you all for being here. Have an excellent week. Arcane, you're the best, brother. We're glad you're on the show.
Thanks so much.
And we'll see you all.
Have a great time, everybody.
Next time.